Hey, Shannon, just trying to get it, setting up the Facebook stream.
Sounds good.
Yep.
How are you doing?
It's been one of those days. Share to page, found it. Never mind. Yeah, it's one of those days, man. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's been one of those days for like 2 months now, and I'm tired.
Yeah, I feel you.
Tired. Like, I didn't even get to like go to the gym or jog today, so I stressed.
For sure.
Yeah, man. I just got some.
Hopefully the riveting discussion will.
Oh yeah, man. Y'all are.
I can't say it will be relaxing, but.
Come on, it's gonna be relaxing for me. At least I get to talk about something meaningful and fun.
Yeah.
All right, so you're here. Somebody is calling me. Alex. Yeah, man, we're good. Well, recording in progress. Just love people to join now. Which is sort of like Facebook Spaces sometimes. You can just have a little chat before. But so we have 5 people here: Rasheen, Justine, Elaine, Claudine, and Double I. We have 1 person on Facebook. Glenn, you want to rally the troops? Glenn, you're on mute.
I am rallying the troops as we speak.
Same. For those of us joining us right now, want to thank you for taking time out of your day to spend the next hour with us. We're going to be discussing NFTs and digital assets. Please, drop all the questions you want in chat. We're going to be checking the chat for questions. If you have friends who want to join and they can't bother to use Zoom, we're live on Facebook as well. So you can reach out to us there. We have Alexa Beckford, who will be representing the JTDA in the chat when it comes to answering questions and raising questions. Please also feel free to use the Q&A option that we have. Once we have like 10 people, I'm going to start.
No problem.
I just want to know what you guys doing today. What's you guys' day? I want to start with Claston. I want to do a check-in. How are you feeling? You're looking forward to this?
Yeah, I was looking forward to it since I was invited. My day is okay so far, Or the chat yesterday made me even more anticipating the moment, all the good points brought across by Glenn. I hope we can bring it out in this conversation here. So I'm checking at about 25.
All right. Glenn, how are you feeling, Glenn?
Oh, I'm pretty okay. A bit tired, but a lot of exciting things happened today. Not sure if anybody tracks E3, but
yes,
so that was great.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
And then the rose amongst the thorns. We have Shannon Chen-See. Hi, Shannon. How are you doing? How's your day?
I'm good, Jason. It was a good day. It was busy. There's just lots of different projects we're working on at work, but overall, it was good. It was good. One of those days where you're like sufficiently productive. Like, all right.
Yes. we can hope for those days, you know, we really can hope for those days. So I'm just going to kick us off formally now. I think we have, you know, a decent amount of people we can start the conversation. So I want to thank everyone in chat for coming, spending the next couple of minutes with us today. My name is Jason Scott. I'm the Deputy President of the Jamaica Technology and Digital Alliance. Want to introduce, in no particular order, Shannon Chen-See. Shannon is a tech marketer, poet, visual artist who is passionate about educating people on the vast potentials NFTs hold for artists. She's a product marketing lead at ACTO, a SaaS scale-up setting the gold standard for education in healthcare and life sciences. She's also a participating artist in the Jamaica Bobsled and Skeleton Federation's NFT fundraiser project. She'll be telling us a lot more about that later. And through her experience in startups and incubators and NGOs in Jamaica and Canada, she had, you know, developed her belief in the power of social entrepreneurship to drive meaningful change. And when she's not talking about Acto or talking about NFTs, she's definitely into rock climbing, which is something, you know, we can definitely explore and see how it's applicable to jumping into the world of NFTs. Next, we have Glen. Glen is a dear friend of mine. We've been friends for well over a decade now. I'm very glad to pull him out onto the panel. Glen is our founder and director of Sprite Studios, which is a micro game development studio based in Kingston, Jamaica. He's an experienced creative professional seeking to expand the way Jamaica explores and interacts with digital media. And, you know, he's also looking forward to guide the way the Caribbean can cement and concretize its cultural position using the stories that we tell. He is the founder and the loudest member of the Jamaica Game Developer Society, which is, you know, a part of the overall JTDA, which is a grassroots group dedicated to developing the local scene for game development, where we're fostering on the growth and collaboration of the space. We'll drop his socials in the chat as well, or Glenn, you can feel free to do that. And last but not least, we have Claston. So Claston Brown is a senior consultant with transformation assurance and compliance at Symptai. He's heavily certified in CISO and CRIC, and he has over 8 years experience in information systems audit, IT risk management, data analytics, and IT security. He is a blockchain and crypto enthusiast, so we have that background similar, but he's gone a step further. He's an investor in NFTs as well. He sees NFTs as, you know, that disruptive technology that can bring significant benefits to society and change the way we operate globally. And with the vision and the application that, you know, people have been, you know, taking NFTs and using them across the way, he's seeing, or will be providing, you know, some more insight as to how we can leverage NFTs and some of the regulation that can come out of it, and how we can, you know, leverage it in the Caribbean to tell our story. So, you know, I want to thank all of you for joining us here today. And, you know, just want to jump right into it, you know. I'm going to ask each of you one question, and I want like 2 sentences, you know. So Shannon, what's an NFT?
Yeah, Jason, so if I could describe it simply, I'd call it a digital asset that represents something in the real world, say an art piece, a digital collectible, and it's possible to prove ownership of that digital asset.
Okay,
I'll
cool.
keep that up for now.
Last one, what's an NFT?
It's pretty much what Shannon says. It's similar to a certificate of authenticity. Okay. So similar to how you would have your car title to say, I own this car. Yeah. The NFT is your authenticity to say, I am an owner of this particular piece, whether it be a digital art piece or a video image or audio file. So I'm seeing where there are even more use cases that might be applicable, as we will discuss it further on in the conversation.
Yeah, man, for sure. And Glenn, what's an NFT?
For me, my simplest interpretation of it is a digital signature that you can use to verify ownership of a particular asset. People have been pretty inventive in ways that can be used, but right now the primary discussion seems to be around crypto art and collectibles. Yeah.
Okay. And And then to break it down some more for everyone else, NFT stands for non fungible tokens. So it's something like Shannon and Claston have clear identified. It's something you can't hold, but it's that certificate of authenticity that shows that you own, in the context we're speaking, a piece of art or some music. So I want to go further into that now. So non fungible token. We spoke about non fungible tokens. We spoke about digital assets, and I'm like hinting at the blockchain. So I want to lean on Claston for this. Claston, can you explain now, how does the blockchain play a part in that non fungible token or that digital asset? Like, what is the blockchain's role in all of that?
All right. So blockchain is for argument's sake, the building block there. I know the term blockchain, building block, but yeah, it's a utility of the blockchain. So one of the benefits of having the blockchain technology is the various utilities or use cases for us globally. Just to provide some history, the first NFT token was created on the Bitcoin blockchain back in 2012. I think they called it Colored Coin. And then after that, the Ethereum blockchain was created in 2015. And the first NFT was created in 2017 on the Ethereum blockchain. And that's what they call CryptoPunks. Not sure how many persons are aware, but a CryptoPunk was sold last week at Christie's auction for over $11 million. So it just shows you, yes.
Wow.
So it just shows you the level of asset that NFTs has become. And just to provide some differentiation here, NFT, non-fungible, and fungible. What is a fungible token? That would be cryptocurrencies, where the cryptocurrency are all alike. Every Bitcoin is the same. An NFT is unique. So you won't have two NFTs that are the same. And also another characteristic of it is that the NFT cannot be divided. So I can't give you a piece of my NFT, whereas a Bitcoin, I can give you a piece of.
Yes, we can break that down.
Yes. So back to the blockchain now. The blockchain is, simply put, a public ledger that records transactions.
So hold on there, Claston. So you're saying that the blockchain is, I want to like break it like super simple. So a blockchain is like a book that just has, it stores the history.
Transaction.
That stores transactions.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes. And one of the characteristics of the blockchain is that it has very high integrity, meaning every transaction is immutable. So it cannot be changed once it's done. And also, a transaction is only committed to the blockchain once that's been verified by other nodes or computer systems. So that also adds to the integrity of it. Another example, in life, we know sometimes unscrupulous persons might fraudulently create copies of authentic documents.
Yeah.
That may, whether it be a driver's license, whether it be a title for a land. If a blockchain was used to back the creation of a title for land ownership, there is no way an individual could copy it because the information will be made publicly available for everyone.
Okay.
So that's a
So let's. I want to ask Shannon now, since Shannon is in the process right now of doing that what's it called, John? A drop. She's in the process of doing that drop for the Bobsled and Skeleton Federation. Shannon, how does that work? Like, I mean, do I draw on Microsoft Paint and then I throw it on the blockchain? Like what constitutes what makes me painting on a piece of paper different than me painting on Microsoft Paint? And then, can I scan something physical? Does it then become a digital asset? At what point does that piece of art or that bit of music become a digital asset?
Yeah, good question, Jason. So I think the moment, it can be anything, first of all. So it could be an audio file. You could use Microsoft Word, put in some text and some lines and some color and mint that as an NFT. I think the defining factor is when it then becomes eternalized, or what we call minted on the blockchain. So it now has this like unique ID in a sense to say like, hey, this is now put on the blockchain, and therefore it has this unique ID which I can now prove only belongs to this art, and I can also prove that I am the one who put it there as an artist. So I think that's kind of the defining factor, or the differentiation between just like say a picture on a computer and something that's an NFT is that it's on the blockchain, which means because the blockchain is a public ledger and anyone who really has internet access could potentially access this and see it, it means that, you know, it's there for the world to see, as Claston is saying, you know, it's out there and it's public.
All right, so we met actually on LinkedIn, where, you know, I saw that you're doing the drop for the Bobsled Federation. Could you tell us about that project a bit more?
Yeah, for sure. So, you know, I'll go a bit before in terms of just my crypto art journey. And, you know, I'm a creative. I do poetry as well as visual art and digital art, and painting. And, you know, I also work in tech as a marketer. So, you know, when I came across the NFT space, there was just something in me that sparked, because I was like, wow, this is like a very cool intersection between both tech and art. And I just started diving in, reading a lot. You know, there's a lot of different resources out there. Just side thing, if anyone wants resources, I can send you some links to articles and things like that. Feel free to reach out to me for that. And I just started joining all these group chats, joining like Telegram groups where people are talking about this. Discord and Twitter are like those big communities where a lot of the dialogue is happening. And so I was already like researching the space, and then the Jamaica Bobsled and Skeleton Federation put out a call for artists for this project. And when I first started, I was like, wow, that's really random, you know, like why would the Bobsled team do that, you know?
Why do they need art?
At the same time, yeah, exactly. At the same time, I was like, wow, that's amazing that they're already on it and already thinking about technologies like this that are really the cutting edge, you know? So I applied to be a participating artist and was accepted. And so basically what they're doing is they're inviting a bunch of different artists to participate in this, contribute art towards different NFTs that they're going to drop, not just visual artists, but musicians as well. And basically they're going to mint them on blockchain and make them available to the public. And the funds for this project are going towards raising funds like towards the Olympics next year.
Okay.
So it's a really cool fundraising application, I think, of NFTs. And one thing I mentioned to people too, because they're like, wow, that's random. And I thought it was random too. But like, as I look more into the projects, this was a fun fact for me that like 7 years ago, the team actually raised like $25,000 in Dogecoin.
Yes,
from just like a Reddit thread. Yeah, which I thought was like very crazy. And like 7 years ago, before people were even really talking about Dogecoin as much as they do now, because it's such a meme because Elon tweeted about it, you know? So yeah, but that's a bit about the project. And yeah, we're gonna be dropping those to the public.
Okay, can you drop some links in chat as well as to where people can, you know, get some more information about that?
Yeah.
All right, awesome. So Claston, I mean, wait, before I get to Claston, I want everybody to understand, I mean, we are not ignoring Glen. Glen is biding his time. Glen is a creative and he has his unique perspective. But, you know, I just want to get to Claston now. So Claston has a digital art gallery project popping up soon. So, you know, I want Claston to tell us a little bit about that and, you know, what inspired him to do that. And then after that, now we're going to speak to Glen as a creative, you know, the practical application. So we touched on one with Shannon just now, which is around fundraising for particular projects. So Claston, you can tell us a bit about your art project that we're going to be promoting through the JTD later this year.
Yes, it's a pleasure. Thanks, Jason. Originally, I love art. So I've always been an avid art looker, for want of a better word, where I will observe various art pieces, but I could never get to purchase them because one, the space to put these pieces, and also the location that they are at. I found out about the crypto art world through a friend of mine who showed me some pieces, and I was like, wow, these look very unique. And then the mere fact they were tied to an NFT, which is like a certificate of authenticity to say that you own this original piece, or you have the ownership to print it if you want. Because one of the benefits of NFT is that you can also create a physical piece from it if you want, and that would be signed by the artist. So I entered into the space, looked at various artists, found a few such as Beeple, Nest Graphics. So if many of you remember that Beeple was the artist that created this whole NFT superstar type of media attention, because his piece sold for 69 million. And he was just a regular artist that created pieces every single day, but he would not get any income from it. But because of the NFT space now, it has created an avenue for him to generate a quite amount of income from it. So I looked at a couple of pieces. I found that also there is something being developed called a metaverse. I'm not sure how many persons are aware of that, but the metaverse is like a virtual reality where, you know, we're going into augmented reality, virtual reality. We have the goggles that you put on, and you can experience an immersive world right where you're at. So as part of the metaverse, these crypto art pieces are now being added to the metaverse. So for example, yourself, Jason, you can create a virtual reality art gallery where if you have the right tools and items, you can literally put on a goggles and walk through a gallery right inside your house with the pieces attached to the wall. That's one of the use cases of NFTs also. And because of that possibility, that's how I got involved in adding some items on the art pieces. And in doing that also, I got the chance to form some relationships with a few established artists in the space. And one of the unique things that I found with the NFT space and crypto art is that the connection with the community. Normally, for example, you buy a piece from, I need to speak of someone who's alive now. Say a famous artist who's alive now. How often do you think you get the opportunity to speak to that artist? Or say
I mean, in Jamaica, if you buy like a piece from like a Craig function, I mean, he's on Instagram. You can always reach out to Craig.
True, but from an international level, how would you get the opportunity to speak to one of those persons? Just to say, yo, I really like your piece, and it speak to me this particular way. Very difficult, right?
It is.
Yeah. But with the NFT art space, you can speak to these persons in Discord. You can tell them your ideas, and it can influence what they drop next. No, that is the part that drawed me in, where you can tell an artist how you feel, and he will incorporate it in his other drop.
So Glenn,
drop is the word for the release.
Glenn, you have this look on your face, and
so from that perspective, that pulled me in, and I have a pretty beautiful gallery now that you will see at the conference in November. I don't want to give away anything now, but something special is in store right now.
All right. So Glenn, give us your take. I see you have a look on your face, and I'd love to hear your opinion. I mean, in terms of the practical applications of NFTs for artists, in terms of getting into the space, you know, we spoke about Beeple. Beeple was I wouldn't say underground, but he was giving away free art. You could go on the site and get that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But we're seeing in the news where NFTs are you know, enabling young artists to break into mainstream. We have guys closing drops for 25 million for a piece of art. In terms of that, in the applications of an NFT for artists and the general creative space, how do you feel about that as a game developer as well?
Okay, so NFTs by themselves are kind of like a buzzword that's floating around right now.
All right.
It's a hot button topic that everyone seems to be attempting to kind of work into the conversation in some form or way. Yeah. I have a bunch of players in the game space coming up with NFTs. I think GameStop was hiring for their NFT platform. They haven't really given a lot of details about that. I think Atari was another one. And I think there are a couple of other people who are trying to work that in. There are people who are taking NFTs and then basically replicating the trading card element as well. They're developing like collectibles in that way. I believe even Wizards of the Coast as well, they're trying to come up with NFTs or dip their toes into NFTs. I don't think it lasted very long, and it didn't last very long, mostly for a polite way of saying, there is a gap between the evangelists between NFTs and some of the creatives, a non-negligible amount within the creative space. Claston, you had mentioned that you always appreciated art and you kind of had a difficulty in terms of, you know, acting on that appreciation, collecting pieces and building a gallery and such. But for a lot of people, a lot of creatives who exist in the digital space, that kind of seems odd, because if you turn over a rock digitally, you will find a community of artists, big or small, and they have their work. It's there, and you can interact with it and purchase it and support the artist and influence their next work. I mean, Patreon has existed for a couple of years, for an example, the alternative.
Yeah.
You can buy merch, you can buy shirts, you can buy posters, you can buy stickers, you can buy, they exist. One of the things that happens with digital creatives at the very least is that they kind of take on this entrepreneurial mindset, which is they have content. How do they monetize that content? Now, what I'm noticing is that in order to build up traction and to get that kind of zeitgeist in place for NFTs, I see a lot of people trying to pitch it as a Hail Mary for digital artists. And they cite people like people. And sure, he's been releasing art for free for years, but a non-negligible part of that is that over those years, he built up quite a bit of following. So it may not be to the point that he was already in the New York Times. But when I say non-negligible, I'm talking, I'm not sure the exact numbers, but I can say that he had over 100K or something like that. Right now it's at 2.2 million. And I'm pretty sure that spiked because of the NFT, right? And what you can do with an audience of that size is pretty much, if you announce, we're gonna say a drop, right? We can say a drop if I announce a Kickstarter, if I announce a Patreon, if I announce something else. With an audience of that size, even with a very low conversion rate of people who are interacting with their content for free, some of them are gonna come and say, hey, I like your art, continue making your art. Let me help you. And that is how a lot of artists are able to make a living. So pitching NFTs as a Hail Mary to a scenario like that in an environment that exists in that way feels a little bit incongruous, right? Like it's another avenue to make money. I don't think it's the best avenue, and I don't think it's genuine to pitch it as the next sliced bread.
All right, so I want to start there then, because like being a blockchain aficionado, I'm really keen on cryptocurrencies and decentralized finance. And one of the pros of having the blockchain is equal access to everybody with internet. That's the big caveat. So so we're looking at I want to use the Jamaica Bobsled and Skeleton. They did a fundraiser using Dogecoin in 2014, and now we're doing another fundraiser with NFTs. So Glenn, in that sense, and I want Shannon to jump in as well. In that sense, Glenn, how do you see NFTs as sort of leveling the playing field when it comes to access to funding? Because not everybody in Jamaica can pretty much start a Patreon or start a Kickstarter because of I guess regulation, and not everybody has an SSN and that kind of stuff. So NFTs sort of are a level playing field in that sense. I mean, so Shannon, what are your views on that? Because Glenn is our resident,
I'm the back.
Yeah, underdog.
Yeah, I think my first initial thought is, Glenn, I hear you. I agree there are existing other channels for artists like Patreon, like things like this. Like as you mentioned yesterday, like subscription is a great model for artists as recurring revenue. But I think there's a power in NFTs to create communities. So last week I was at the CGC conference, which is about like cutting edge gaming and that kind of thing. And one of the speakers, his name is Michael Sanders from Horizon Blockchain, he spoke about how NFTs turn users into more engaged people. And basically because you can have these entire economies within like a game, for example, where now you don't even need to regulate the trading of the assets that are going on in the game. It goes from this closed, centralized kind of model with users, and you are controlling the supply of assets or items in a game, to now like an in-app economy essentially, and how that can drive even more like fulfilling communities is the word he used. And I just thought that was powerful, because I think for gaming, I guess in this use case, gaming, it's not just about, okay, how can I get these people to like pay me money? It's actually like, okay, it's like a truly fulfilling community, And then I think bringing it to the fundraising case with the Jamaica Bobsled Federation, their raise, I think the first raise, the 2014 fundraise, it was actually just because of the cult following and the emotional connection people have to.
It was memes.
Yeah, it was literally memes. Like it was a Reddit thread, and you know, I think something I've seen in terms of just like a general theme throughout NFTs is just like it's capitalizing on people's like emotional connection to something, which I think will live on forever. Like I think humans will always have these kind of like emotional connections to like inanimate objects. You know, like a action figure isn't just an action, it's just a piece of plastic, but because it has that nostalgia, because people have these kind of like emotional attachments to it, they are willing to pay to say, hey, I own this digital asset, you know. And I think there's something different between that and say like a one-time, like, okay, I'm gonna just buy this, or I'm gonna download it and put it as a screensaver, you know, like to say, hey, I actually own this. I think is a differentiation factor.
Because like for me, that's where I get confused. I'm like, somebody owns this piece of digital art. I'm like, all right, I can go on 4Wall, or I can go on a Reddit thread, or I can go on /b/. I mean, I can go on a site and I can grab this image, throw it on my wallpaper, throw it as my display picture, put it as my background on my phone. And I mean, okay, you own it, but I mean, I still can use it. So like, yeah, I don't really see the benefit there when it comes to that, and it doesn't really help the artist. So I have a friend named Nathaniel. Nathaniel's handle is Stratus. He's an excellent digital artist, and like we commission him to like do. If you've ever been to Chilitos and seen the chalk drawings, that's Natty. So Natty is a digital artist. He gets commissions all the time. Big up Natty anyway. He gets commissions all the time. But no, when it comes to him, you know, like sharing his work, his portfolio on, for example, on Twitter. You know, Twitter loads these nice 4K images. Somebody on Twitter is like, yo, I like this picture of this thing that he did. I'm just going to, you know, save it. I'm going to save it to my phone. I'm going to then go on my Instagram, and I'm going to repost it. And I'm going to get, you know, 6 million, you know, likes on it. And then somebody's going to reach out to me, and, you know, I have now gained, you know, more rep. I've gained more following, some sort of credit in some way, shape, or form. How can we, you know, sort of, you know, help a digital artist in that sense? When it comes to, I see in the chat somebody saying NFT is not equal to copyright, and you're both correct. So like, how can we help when it comes to stuff like that? I want to, you know, shift the conversation. So we understand the applications of it. We understand from a practical point of view, we can use it for fundraising. In the case of Jamaica Bobsled, we can use it in terms of building community, building exposure for upcoming artists. But no, as it grows, how can we look at you know, making it meaningful? How can we, you know, use it to empower artists going forward? So like Claston, no, from that point of view, expensive art is sort of synonymous with, you know, the shady underworld. You know, people will trade art instead of you know, paying cash. That is something that has popped up on in the NFT space, and people are like, oh, Bitcoin is for the darknet. I mean, right now people are, you know, allegedly using NFTs to get nefarious things done, or, you know, transfer assets. How can we mitigate against stuff like that? How can we get that stigma off of it? What kind of stuff can we look for that?
All right, so just to the point that Glenn made about just buying art from someone and having it on your phone, background. Remember, you know, what distinguishes an NFT primarily from a regular image is the utilization of it. I don't want that to get lost in the conversation. You can own an NFT right where you're at now, Jason, and that NFT in Italy. You can do that same NFT in Africa. So the utility of the NFT, we're just exploring it. So that's one of the unique characteristics of the NFT. Now, to address the concern around money laundering and stuff, that can be resolved via the platforms that sell the NFTs. So in terms of regulatory framework, we know how regulators are. The technology goes, the regulation follows. So I must admit that we are still catching up to that aspect of it. But again, the platforms that sell these NFTs, I see they're actively implementing controls, such as KYC compliance, where you need to provide your address, social security number, various documentation to prove that you are a legitimate person, and also the funds that you're providing is legitimate. And they will prevent you from purchasing or selling NFT if you don't provide these documentation.
So let's say I go on Glenn's Twitter now, and Glenn posts art every day. Yeah, every day Glenn posts art, more or less, on Instagram or Twitter. Suppose I go on there and I screenshot and I crop it, and I go to one of these sites now and I want to mint this NFT as my own. How does that help Glenn?
That doesn't help Glenn.
Why?
And that is where we will rely on the ethical and moral upbringing of the individual to know that they should not. I know what you're saying, but I'm just saying that there's nothing you can do to stop that, honestly.
Okay.
The only advice I can provide to Glenn is that you mint your items before you publish them publicly. That's the only control he can do at this point.
What say you, Glenn?
All right, so that is definitely a problem, and that's something I definitely I was aware of, because as the talk of NFTs came up, that started plaguing a lot of digital artists, right? People would just go ahead and scalp it. A couple Twitter bots popped up at the same time, but people were minting tweets at one point for a hot second. And honestly, in my opinion, the only way to really protect against that is to move the conversation more away from the value of the art asset itself and to the artist, which is why I prefer subscription models and services like that, where it's a more equitable one-on-one interaction between the consumer of the creative output and the artist themselves. Because that's why I'm very much for subscription services or crowdfunding or stuff to that effect. Because what's happening with NFTs, or what I fear with NFTs, is that it's taking the ideas behind the fine art world and trying to inject that into the digital art space. Okay. And that's, to me, not the best direction.
Glenn, let me put a point to you. All right. The current model where you say it's subscription, right? I'm giving you two scenarios. One, I'm an artist. I created a digital art piece. I sell it to Jason. Jason buys it for me for $100 US. Jason then shows a friend. A friend says, wow, this is very beautiful. I will pay you $1,000 for this. That friend pays Jason $1,000 for my piece, you know. That friend then shows another friend. A friend said, wow, this is beautiful. I'll give you $1 million for it. Remember, you know, I'm getting no slice of this. I sold my piece for 100 US. What an NFT does is remove that aspect of it. It put the power in the hands of the creator.
It is a solution to that, yes.
So the smart contract can be configured to allow royalties to be paid to me. So whenever Jason sells it to that person for 1,000, I get 15% or 50% based on my configuration. When it sells for $1 million, I get 50% also, or 15%. So
hold on.
Isn't that empowering the artist also? Don't you think?
Hold on. I want to call out one thing before Glenn makes his comment. So there is a way to mint NFTs so that the artist can get some royalties for resale in the future. All right, so we're going to go into that later. And there was a question in the chat about the cost of minting an NFT. We're going to be visiting that. So I want Glenn to make the point, and then Shannon has something that she wants to say as well. So Glenn, sorry.
All right, sorry, I don't want to get too lost in the weeds here, but just to respond to that statement, that is exactly the opposite of what I'm suggesting. That is still putting the value squarely in the asset. You realize in halfway through the conversation, it's never about the artist. It's about the value of the asset increasing by perceived value at infinity.
Yeah.
What should happen instead, or what I'm suggesting instead, is Jason buys a piece of art from you, right? And then somebody says, yo, that's a really good piece of art. How much is that, or where did he get it? And Jason says to him, yo, I commissioned it from this person. You can check him out. And then that person commissioned a new piece or a piece like that from me. You understand the loop there? That is the difference. It's putting the focus on the skill that the artist has cultivated and less on the speculative market that surrounds the output.
I mean, the two aren't mutually exclusive.
They're not mutually
exclusive. The point from Philip in chat.
Not mutually exclusive, but it's a slight different perspective.
again,
All right, so hold on before Shannon, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, one quick thing I want to just add is like, I feel like in the past or before NFTs, like value of an art piece was heavily determined by like tastemakers or like these like central art houses and such, you know? So if we're talking about what something's worth to someone, I think like I think NFTs open up the market to a much wider global market that artists can access, you know? And so I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing in any case, like for artists. Glenn, so I'd love to know what your thoughts are on that in terms of just being able to more directly reach the market and new markets.
So instead of having you know, an auction house determine the value of the art, you throw it out there and then the market will determine the value of the art. So there are two parts to it. the first part is what Claston was talking about, which is something I'm very keen on. If Claston has the art and sells the art to someone else, the artist gets a piece of that in perpetuity, based on how the minted piece is set up, which we're going to go into. And then, Glenn, because of the digital signature on the NFT itself, we now know that it was made by Glen Henry. And if he made this piece, I will like his other pieces. So case in point, I love Craig Frank Chang's art. I love it. Like if he did an NFT drop tomorrow, best believe I would buy some. And then I would print them and have them over my walls. But no, if someone walks into my house and says, oh, that's a nice piece, where did you get it? And I'll say, you know, Craig Frank Chang, go check him out. And then they would go to his gallery or his store and then buy another piece. So the two sort of work together in that regard. But no, since it's on the blockchain, and this is something that I have marked in my book right here, and it's very important. Why does it make sense each time an NFT is sold that we burn down a rainforest? I want to talk about expensive, the eco cost of the blockchain. Right now, you know, Bitcoin is really burning through the environment when it comes to mining and that kind of stuff. We have Ethereum making a commitment to reduce gas fees, which will reduce mining. So to break some context, everybody in the chat, mining is literally using a computer to solve a very complex math problem. And if you've ever opened Skype on your computer, I'm not sure if you still have Skype or why you would have Skype, your computer will make a very loud sound akin to a plane taking off. And that draws electricity. So imagine having, you know, entire warehouses of GPUs or computers that are dedicated to solving these complex math problems. That's a huge light bill. And that light comes from somewhere. It's not renewable energy. It's not solar, particularly here in Jamaica. It's oil. And we all know the impact that that's having on the environment. So from an environmental point of view, before we go into how to do an NFT, this is something that is really near and dear to me, which is why part of, you know, the reason why I don't want to participate in them are the environmental impact. So I want to start with Shannon when it comes to, you know, minting an NFT and the associated transaction fees. And I know that's something that Glenn would want to talk about as well. So I want to go Shannon, Glenn, and Claston to wrap up. And then after that, we can go through a practical example.
Yeah, I think my response to that would just be that, yes, currently the technology uses a lot of electricity, but the idea is that it's not staying that way. Mm-hmm. So for those on the call, Ethereum is moving from what Jason mentioned as solving those cryptographic puzzles, those complex problems, it's called proof of work, and it's moving towards proof of stake. And that's actually supposed to reduce the kind of energy consumption by like a very significant amount. I think it's like 99%. And so we know that there are a lot of people working on reducing these fees, and that is where Ethereum is going. And there's a lot of, in terms of the ecosystem of people around it, like no one likes these gas fees. Like there is an incentive to move towards that. So I do think once the merge, they call it, happens, when Ethereum 2.0 happens, there will be a reduction in terms of the environmental impact. But I agree, Jason, right now, obviously there is that, but there's also other like solutions right now, like such as sidechains that they're trying to reduce that current impact, right? So yeah. I think there are people working on trying to do something about it. It's not just like we're sitting back and saying, yeah, this is great, like, you know.
Just burn our forest and make them NFT, guys. Yeah. Okay, so we understand. Yeah, there's a link in chat from from Chad, who is a blockchain developer. He had a talk a couple weeks back on Twitter. I'm explaining blockchain to people. So digital assets as well as NFTs. You can check out that link. So yeah, and as mentioned, there are side chains and other networks that are coming up that are more environmentally responsible chains to mint NFTs on. Glenn, what are your views on burning rainforests to share digital art?
Generally, that's a bad thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Generally, that's a bad thing, but I am aware of the move from proof of work to proof of stake.
Yeah.
My only concern with that is twofold. One, that migration or that update or that change, the merge, has been pending for a while. It's been about almost 2 years at this point, and it hasn't happened yet. And the likelihood of it happening in totality, coupled with the adoption rate of NFT as a whole, is concerning, because we all know bad tech, if enough people adopt it, it's just going to cement itself and calcify. And that's a concern, right? That's my concern from based off of what I've read and researched so far. So yeah, also a knock-on effect of the entire boom with cryptocurrency and everything is graphic card prices are through the roof.
Yeah.
You can't get a PS5 and chances are it's because of crypto.
Yeah, a lot of people. So that's actually a lot of these knock-on effects. People aren't aware of them. Like the price for, yes, I am upset as well. I haven't got my PS5. It's been what, 7 months? I'm very upset. The price of chips, there's a chip shortage right now because of the knock-on effect of mining for crypto for the past, I want to say about 5 years. Graphics card prices are shooting up through the roof, and if you can, you know, it's very interesting. I mean, that's not the only reason, but you know, that's part of it. So we have some questions. I'm seeing them in chat. You know, we're talking about how to mint an NFT. We're approaching that section next. Is there no way for an artist to protect the artwork they upload to the internet? That's a whole nother topic, which we're going to get into from an NFT point of view, not necessarily from a general point of view. And the negative impact on the environment, will the choice be between environment and technology? These are all great questions that, you know, beyond the scope of the discussion. We'd love to continue the chat on Twitter. If you want to tag us at the JTDA, you can check us on our Facebook page. We can have that chat as well. But I mean, eventually we are going to have to look at, you know, renewable energy, using solar, using wind, to be very, you know, mindful of the environment. So now, Claston, the thoughts about the environmental sustainability of NFTs, not necessarily, you know, NFTs in a vacuum, but the impact of NFTs, you know, doing transactions on a blockchain.
All right, so
it's to be clear to everyone, it's part of a larger problem. NFTs aren't making it worse. NFTs are making it better, but they are also contributing. There are other things like buying and selling cryptocurrency. Those you know, lead to this as well. People mining does this as well. So I don't want people to think that NFTs are burning down rainforests, but you know, minting them, I mean, it adds, and every little bit, you know, every make a muckle. So Claston, what are your thoughts about sustainability from an environmental point of view?
So I don't want us to tie this sustainability problem that we have specifically to NFTs or cryptocurrency. We, as a global nation, country, world, we have a challenge with renewable energies. That's why companies like Tesla are creating new ways to generate electricity, you know, without digging up the dinosaur oil. El Salvador are planning to use the volcanoes in El Salvador to generate energy to mine Bitcoin. So what I realize with, I guess, human beings in general, when we are faced with challenges like these, it always forces us to be more innovative and create solutions to solve these problems. So I'm pretty confident that there will be developments, as Shannon mentioned about the Ethereum moving to, I know it's a bit slow, Glenn, but I think they will get there eventually. And once they have solved these problems along with our other issues as a human race, using the combustibles, putting back CO2 into the atmosphere, all these challenges, I'm confident that we will get there sooner than later.
Okay, and then to add some context to that El Salvador comment, this week El Salvador announced that Bitcoin will be, accepted as legal tender in the country, and the entire internet descended on them in rage, and they said, "Oh no, we'll be using the volcanoes. We'll be looking at geothermal mining, geothermal energy to help offset the environmental impact of Bitcoin mining in the country as well." So this now takes us to where the majority of the questions are around NFTs. How do I do it? Like, how do I get rich? I want to draw on MS Paint and make 22 million US. Like, Shannon, you're doing it right now. Like, how do we go about minting? So I want you to walk Glenn, or a resident digital artist, which is very ironic in this case, through the process of minting and NFTs. And I want us to look at, what do I need to do before? What are the various platforms or sites? What are things I should be aware of? And then some of the caveats, like what Claston and Glenn were talking about, and the questions in chat. How can I set it up to make some money? And each time it's sold, how can I protect against it being used against my will? Or is there some form of copyright or IP protection that we can look at building in as well? So let's start off with the simple. How do I go from Microsoft Paint to New York Times?
All right, so sorry, there's an ice cream truck passing my house right now. And
that's fine, we can barely hear it.
One thing I want to caveat is, and I think it goes back to Glenn's earlier point, which I agree with, that NFTs are not the one-stop shop solution for all artists everywhere. And I think that's something the audience should know too. Like, you're not just gonna wake up one day, throw it on the blockchain, and you're suddenly a Beeple. Beeple is like an exception, So I think one thing as well to note is that it takes a lot of marketing to do a successful drop, right? Like, you can't just put it on the blockchain and then unless you get really lucky, like, I think you're not really going to just get millions of dollars, right? So I think it starts by what we're talking about, building an audience, like making sure your following knows that this is happening, starting that dialogue and that building that community from early. And then I think it comes to choosing the platform you're going to drop it on. So I mean, there are different platforms. OpenSea is one of the largest ones, but there are also other platforms that like cater to more like exclusive drops. Nifty Gateway being one of them. There's so many, and they all have their niche. Some of them focus on like greener NFT drops. So there are different options.
Okay, that's
in
nice.
terms of your platform.
So far it's pretty much the same process as setting up an e-commerce store. You need to be aware, you need to let your following know, you need to do some marketing efforts around it. It's not just click a button and get rich. There's marketing effort involved. Growing the community over time is also a part of it, and then picking the right platform. So like you mentioned, OpenSea, quickly just drop those in chat while we're talking. So you have OpenSea, and then you can find a platform that aligns with your values as an artist. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. So yes. I've found my platform. I mean, Glenn has found his platform. What now?
All right. So then when you have your platform, it comes down to minting it. I think Claston can speak to the technicalities here in terms of just the actual setup and the technical stuff. But it just comes down to, you usually have to pay, like, it depends on the platform. So for example, I think OpenSea, you do have to pay like a setup cost, like beyond the platform, but they won't necessarily charge you until there's someone that wants to buy. So, it depends though, right? And then more exclusive types of platforms, they're very selective about who they allow in. So you may have to do some work to even get on the platform and convince them that your artwork is worth being shown on the platform. But yeah, Claston, would you like to take over?
Yeah, Claston, tell us some more about that, like getting Glenn's art on the blockchain.
So one point to note, also is that in managing the NFT, you need to ensure you have a compatible wallet, because one thing that I guess the public isn't aware is that you can send your NFT to an incompatible wallet and it's gone forever.
Wait, hold on, stop. You said in a wallet? Yeah. Bro, you lost me. You fully lost me.
All right. So cryptocurrency NFTs are stored in digital wallets.
Okay.
These are addresses that store your asset, and really and truly, you can purchase an asset for $1 million, send it to an incompatible wallet, and it's lost forever.
That's not cool, Claston.
Because I just want public to be mindful. Remember, transactions on the blockchain are immutable, meaning, you know, when you have like a credit card fraud where you can call the bank and set a reverse transaction,
Yeah,
that cannot happen with NFTs. So if you send it to an incompatible wallet, that's it. Your money is gone down the drain. But back to more pleasant discussion. Glenn, as a digital artist, first and foremost, I would say, as I said yesterday in our pre-conversation, the quality of your work will always speak for itself. So regardless of what your community look like or the supporters look like, the quality of your work will distinguish you from a regular person. If you have that part down, you can build a community now where you speak to persons, you interact with them, ask them how they feel about this particular piece. Do you like this piece more? What if I incorporate this aspect into my designs? Would that make you more appreciative of the work? Once you have that aspect also completed, you then determine the rarity and scarcity of your NFT. And this contributes a lot to the value of it.
All right, so you can talk to me about rarity and scarcity now.
All right.
So Glenn paints a piece of
physical piece or digital?
No man, the digital. So he does like a SVG or something. He's done it. So like, what's the rarity and the scarcity? He's saying that right. I can set the amount of copies of that piece.
Yes.
Okay. Tell me more.
What happens in this world is for crypto art, the rarity meaning how many minted pieces. So in the case where you have a one-of-one, where it's only one minted piece, this will have more value than a piece that has like 10 additions to it.
Okay.
So you, the artist, determine the rarity about it. Now, the scarcity aspect now, it can be controlled by the artist in some sense, but once it is sold to a collector, the collector then determines what the scarcity is. And scarcity is simple, how many pieces are accessible for purchase. So say Glenn releases a 10 edition piece and all 10 editions are bought by 3 individuals. And these individuals then say, you know what, I'm not selling my piece. They now determine that individuals who want to purchase a piece from Glenn has to pay a high premium because it's scarce. You can't purchase it from anyone. So for you to convince someone, you have to offer them a huge amount for them to be convinced to sell it to you.
Okay.
So that's where the scarcity comes in. So literally in the art world now, the crypto art world, you have cartels being formed. Because
you like that word, Claston. Find another word.
I'm just being real. I'm just being real.
That was aggressive.
Yeah, I'm just being real.
Okay.
So for example, Glenn would release a piece, right? He releases a 10 edition piece. Me and my group of friends, we go and buy every single drop from Glenn. What we do now is we determine the market for Glenn pieces.
Okay.
Until Glenn releases new pieces, which again, we might buy all of them again. So similar to in the diamond world where the cartel control how many diamond is available.
Wrong word.
Happens in. But
all
again,
right, so we'll get you. So we've identified the rarity and the scarcity of the piece. And the platforms associated with them. So now we mentioned it earlier and I want to go back to it and Shannon hinted at it. These various platforms have various costs. So besides the actual cost of time and effort into painting a quest like studio character splash screen, shameless plug for Glenn there. What other costs should I consider besides these platform costs?
Well, I think we probably spoke about the gas fees already.
All right, so gas fees are the transaction fees on the various blockchains.
Okay. As well as the overall fee for minting it on the platform, where this can be affected by the size of the file that you're minting.
Okay.
So if it's a 1 megabyte file compared to a 60 megabyte file, the 60 megabyte file might have an overall higher cost to me.
Gotcha. So file size matters in this regard. And it goes back to what we're saying originally with Shannon's point. It can be music, it can be text,
yes,
it can be a video. Yes. So the NFT for Charlie Bit My Finger, that YouTube video.
Yeah,
that went off some weeks back, wasn't it?
Yes, and remember, we are in the very, very early stages of this technology. We haven't even explored the many possibilities because what most persons don't mention is the smart contract, which is the basis for the NFT. So
and I think that's like the best part of it, because we spoke about it. We spoke about it earlier, and I want to emphasize to everybody. So the smart contract part of the NFT dictates how the NFT is used, more or less.
Yes.
And I don't want to limit it to NFTs. It's any digital asset, and smart contracts, you can correct me if I'm wrong, are unique to the Ethereum blockchain.
Yes, currently.
Currently, they're unique.
I think some can be developed on the Bitcoin blockchain, just to confirm. I haven't confirmed that as yet, but I know for the Ethereum, yeah.
So we're all of us are fairly confident that that smart contract work on Ethereum blockchain. A smart contract dictates how a digital asset changes ownership between two individuals. So it's literally like if I were to give Claston these headphones, and right now it says these belong to me, I would give them to Claston. And then Claston would take it, and then we agreed that ownership would change to him, and then they would be his, and it's recorded on the blockchain in perpetuity. And that's pretty much the same principle of the smart contract. And then we can also tweak the smart contract to know include other things like costs.
Manage finance, like within decentralized finance, where you get paid a yield percentage every month based on the smart contract. There
are smart contracts. I've been a part of a project which does smart contracts for the exchange of real estate titles, and they're also starting to use it for rental agreements. So once it is that the asset is transferred to a person, as long as the contract meets the requirements that X amount is paid every month, the ownership still belongs to that person. So in the case of our NFT, which is art, and somebody mentioned it earlier in terms of protecting your art on the internet. There are countless applications in this sense. We mentioned one earlier, which is the most important one in my opinion, which is Glenn made his art piece, minted it, and now Claston has it and is selling it to someone else. We can set up a smart contract so that Glenn gets a piece of that sale and pretty much feeds off of that. So I mean, Elaine, important question. Does that mean the cartel can control an artist's work? Or what I mean, does the artist really benefit? I mean, Elaine, it works both ways. This is not unique to NFTs, Glenn.
Remember,
very clear about this.
Remember, the smart contract will dictate that the artist will get paid perpetually.
Yeah, but in the case of what Elaine is saying, I want to emphasize that this is not something that is unique to NFTs. It's something that has been going on for a long time. So people will buy up a lot of things. So like, for example, Bridget's, when Bridget's came out, people bought them up and hoarded them, and then the price went up. And no, Bridget's is like, it's an excellent example in my opinion. And Clark's. So it can benefit the artist, Elaine, and it can work both ways. It really can. So
can I jump in there? Just on the flip side of group purchasing, there's also DAOs, right? Like there's decentralized autonomous organizations. So this allows groups of people to come together and actually invest jointly in an art, and as a group own art, which I think is
mind blowing.
We don't really have that right now,
so
and I think
sort of like a digital hedge fund.
Yeah,
it's like a digital hedge fund where groups of people can come together to buy Glenn's very expensive art, and then it becomes an actual asset that gains, that appreciates in value, and they can be part of like an overall digital portfolio, which can constitute NFTs, real estate titles,
cryptocurrency, bonds. Yes.
So it expands the entire decentralized finance bit. But to go back to another point that was raised in the chat, it then can allow for proof of ownership of an art piece, for example, on a website. This is something that occurs right now. You have crawlers that go on a website. Let's say they're from Shutterstock. I think that's one of the more popular ones that offers art or photos of things. You have spiders spiders are bits of code that crawl websites to check if images being used on that website were paid for. What can happen when it comes to NFTs, or that we can have more spiders that can crawl the internet and say, hey, that photo on this website, belongs to Glenn. Do you have permission to use this thing? And it would automatically check the blockchain to ensure that the owner, for example, of that site has the authority or the legitimacy to use the art piece. So either the authority, the ownership, or the permission of the artist to use their art on that website. So there is more tying into legal registration, so that comes into ownership and copyright and IP, and it can also be tied back to songs, poetry, and physical files. So we have links in the chat when it comes to Twitter links talking about DAOs. We have links about decentralized finance. We have links about the JTDA. You know, go follow us on all these wonderful socials. Join the conversation on Twitter, #NFTsJA. And you know, I want to start wrapping this back up now. I want to bring it back to the Caribbean context, because we're about 3 minutes over, but I think we can go on to another 5 minutes. I want to wrap this up by asking each one of you, how can we in the Caribbean, I mean, Shannon is an example right now, but how can we in the Caribbean use this, one, to boost the digital art space, to ensure that our culture, for example, like the poems that like Miss Lou would write, or you know, those unique stories that we have, how can we leverage the NFT or the NFT space or the metaverse, as Claston puts it, for the Caribbean context? I mean, I'm going to skip Shannon because she's doing it right now. If you're just joining, Shannon is going to drop the Bobsled and Jamaica Bobsled and Skeleton NFT link in the chat. I want to start with Glen, since he is more connected to the grassroots foundations. So he's working with, you know, has worked with, please fix me, Kingston Creative, part of Jamaica Game Developers Association, very well networked in the Jamaica the digital art scene. Glen, how do you see the NFTs or the use of NFTs and other digital assets to better the community, to monetize it, one, and then for us to start reaping benefits from our culture? Because we have people, culture vultures, that's coming, lifting and leaving. How can we leverage NFTs to solve that? Well, in theory, to solve that problem.
Bit of an unfair question, because I'm still not for NFTs, but the best
NFTs. You just don't know it yet, Glen.
Nah. But the scenario that you mentioned a while ago about verifying ownership, using spiders and verifying ownership, I think that is probably the most pertinent benefit I can imagine for digital artists, mostly because that is a proven problem and a continuous problem, because outside of just people stealing your art to do NFTs, there are copyright wars. There are people who steal your art and then pretend that it's your art and then get their fans to block your Twitter account or cause you all manner of grief and stuff like that. So that, as an example of utility, I can appreciate more so than a way of trying to inject value or perceived value into a digital asset in that way. And if NFTs can be used as a tool to leverage, what's the word I'm looking for? Digital finance, speed that dialogue up. Yeah, that'd be great. Because one of the things that to add in what Claston had mentioned about the wallets, getting your money out of your wallet right now, or getting any form of digital payment into your bank account in Jamaica right now is still a problem. There are ways around it.
We're having that discussion soon. All right, so that's Glen's take. Glen's position is that and NFTs can be used to help solve proof of ownership of digital art or such assets from a copyright and IP point of view. Claston.
Okay.
In 2 sentences, we're over time, and I want to ensure that we get all the nice hot takes.
Okay, to have a more inclusive audience for NFT in the Caribbean, I think the first step would be to develop a NFT marketplace specific for the Caribbean, where you include all the creators, everyone who wants to create content, and we centralize it on that platform and provide it to everyone else. So I think that would be the best benefit. Apart from that, the financial benefits for persons who previously probably don't have $500,000 to give to Scotiabank to invest for them. They can probably put $100 US into an NFT, and if the market goes well, they can sell that NFT back for 500. So again, this is not financial advice. I'm just telling you what's happening currently. So
gotcha. This is not financial advice. You don't want to throw all your money in crypto. Please don't do that. All right, Shannon, as someone doing it right now for the Jamaica Bobsled and Skeleton Foundation, We want to wrap up and talk about the practical applications of NFTs. Can you tell us any more information about that? When's that drop? Any more info about that?
Yeah, I can't reveal the date yet. The full-on
Okay.
marketing hasn't happened, but if you guys want to know more, just reach out to me, and I can connect you with the team if needed. Yeah, there. In terms of like my last words in terms of Jamaica, you want
Caribbean.
that as well? Yeah. So sorry, the Caribbean. I think at the end of the day, people invest in NFTs because they see it as an investment. You know, they see it as holding some kind of cultural capital or value. And I think Jamaica has tons of cultural capital to, as you said, Jason, I think we almost have so much and we don't capitalize on it. And I think the biggest potential is definitely the royalties aspect. Particularly, I think maybe for our music industry, you know, like so much of Jamaica's music is sampled, and you know, where does that go? Does that even go back to the artists? Sometimes are they even credited fully? So I think in terms of like crediting our artists and ensuring that people know like this is where this has come from, I think that's the biggest potential for Jamaican creatives.
All right. And then just to wrap it all up, you know, so for this entire thing, it's been recorded. If you're joining us on Zoom, the recording will be on Facebook. We will also seek to upload this to our YouTube page if you wanted us to watch it over. A quick recap, we went over what an NFT is. We looked at how NFTs are formed on a blockchain, different types of blockchains that facilitate NFTs. We spoke about what NFT, which non fungible token, different types of digital assets and how they work. We looked at the practical applications of NFTs, such as Shannon doing it, a drop to do a fundraiser for the Jamaica Bobsled and Skeleton Foundation. We also spoke about Claston's art gallery, which we're going to be premiering at our BizTech conference later this year, which is in November. While I'm doing this recap, can you all drop your socials in chat so people know how to reach out to you? We also had a quick chat about practical applications. So we're looking at gaining community, gaining followership, using that as a form of financial gain for artists to get more exposure to the market. We also looked at some of the caveats. So that's people stealing your art and minting it on their behalf, as Glenn mentioned, using their clout to shut you down. We also spoke about regulation. We looked at about how NFTs will be regulated in the future. Since it's brand new, the regulation will catch up to it eventually. And we also spoke about opportunities for growth, which is what everybody caught on there. And then we did a quick walkthrough about how to go about minting an NFT. We have some of the links in the chat. If you're just joining us, you can check out the recording on Facebook for that, or you can reach out to the panelists on Twitter and their socials. And we're looking forward to how we can, continue this conversation, working with the creative working with the tech, so that we can further Jamaica from a cultural point of view, and then to help in individuals, get more exposure, get more financial gain from all the hard work here in Jamaica. I want to thank you all for joining me. Particular big shout out to Shannon for posting that on LinkedIn. If I never saw that, then this talk would have happened. I want to thank Glenn for taking time from his game dev work and his digital art scene to joining us, and definitely want to thanks to Claston for reaching out and expressing interest in being a panelist. My name is Jason Scott, part of the Jamaica Tech and Digital Alliance. Our socials are in chat. If you're not a member, please go to thejtda.com and sign up. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, IG, LinkedIn. It is the JTDA. Please click join a member. If you're part of a company, tell your company to join to become a member. There are tons of benefits. We're going to be having a training session in July. We're going to be looking at digital transformation, and it's going to be themed going throughout the rest of the summer. We're all on lockdown, and there's tons of opportunity to learn. So thanks again for joining us. See you again in a couple weeks. We're going to be talking about another topic. I'm not telling you what it is. You need to follow us on socials to find out. So hope you guys have a great night. And we talk again soon as we look. The next time we'll be talking about the drop that was done, and the art gallery at BizTech in November. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your night. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.